What are the first countries that come to your mind when you think of colonial powers? You probably think of the British, the French, the Portuguese, or the Dutch. All great European powers with a long colonial history. But one European great power did not seem to play a role in this competition for colonies: Austria. However, Austria also had colonial interests and owned its own colonies. Therefore, today we will have a look at Austria's colonial policy, see where in the world the Austrians were active and how successful the colonies were. When the first phase of colonization began in the 15th and 16th century, especially by the Spanish and Portuguese, it was very difficult for Austria to undertake its own voyages or discoveries to the New World or Asia. Austria, which in the meantime was ruled by its own Habsburg line, was located in Central Europe and had only a small, insignificant port in Trieste, which meant that it failed in terms of logistics alone. But this changed abruptly at the beginning of the 18th century. In 1714, in the course of the War of the Spanish Succession, Austria gained possession of the Austrian Netherlands, which roughly comprised the area of present-day Belgium and Luxembourg. The Habsburgs did not hesitate either, and following the example of Great Britain and the Netherlands, established their own Imperial East India Company. The targets were mainly Bengal in the northeast of the Indian subcontinent. There, the Austrians were able to establish some bases and trading houses. But the history of the Imperial East India Company was short-lived, however, as it had to be dissolved again in 1731 due to pressure from other naval powers, first and foremost Great Britain. But Austrian colonial policy did not end there. Maria Theresa founded a new trading company, the Trieste East India Trading Company, which undertook voyages of discovery from the now more developed port Trieste under the flag of the Holy Roman Empire ruled by the Austrian Habsburgs. Thus, in 1777, Austria established its first colony in East Africa. It was located in the Delagoa Bay, now called Maputo Bay, where the capital of Mozambique is located today. The port was acquired by a local leader and immediately declared an Austrian crown colony, for which a small fortification of 10 men was created. Next, the East India Trading Company was drawn back to the Bay of Bengal, where some of the Nicobar Islands, to which Denmark actually laid claim, were acquired. They too were designated Austrian crown colony, trading houses were established, but only 6 men were left behind to defend them. The most ambitious plan, however, probably came from Moritz Benjowski. The adventurer and explorer wanted to take Austrian possession of the island of Madagascar. His proposal was heard in Vienna, but no financial or military resources were provided. This was another way in which Austria's colonial policy seemed to be getting more and more bogged down. Austria simply did not have a large navy ready to defend the non-European colonies. Moreover, there were too few seafarers and sea merchants in Austria who could have made a profit from the colonies. And the pressure from the other colonial powers kept growing. Thus, the Trieste East India Trading Company was dissolved again in 1785. The Delagoa Bay was conquered by Portugal and the Nicobar Islands fell to Denmark. Only the name of the island Teresa, named after Maria Theresa, remains to this day. The later fight for Africa was led by the other European powers, but Austria did not hold back completely as it is often assumed. The Austro-Hungarian dual monarchy undertook expeditions and missions to Sudan, Uganda, and penetrated as far as the Congo Basin. Austrian stations and outposts were founded everywhere, but an actual long-term colony could never be established. However, it was very present on the European continent. Some historians even argue that Bosnia and Herzegovina, which was granted to the dual monarchy at the Congress of Berlin in 1878, can be called an internal colony, and many contemporary Austrian authors considered it a substitute colony. However, it is in any case debatable whether one can speak of a colony here. When it, on the side of the other European powers and with the support of the US, Russia and Japan, suppressed the Boxer Rebellion in China from 1899 to 1901, it received as thanks a base in Tianjin, a city that today has over 13 million inhabitants. But with the end of Austria-Hungary, however, this colony was also lost. And Austria also left another trace in the far north. During an Austro-Hungarian North Pole expedition in 1873, the sailors sighted a large archipelago with 191 islands, which they named Franz Josef Land in honor of Emperor Franz Josef I. And the archipelago, which today belongs to Russia, bears the name to this day.